Alrighty then. Successful Indie Author, 5-Minute Focus, episode 986, The Philosophy of Writing. Well, we all have our own philosophy of writing, but you need to know your story. It makes it so much easier to write if you know the story. Yes, you can add backstories to your characters as they grow throughout the story, but you really need to know where this story ends. You can't just start writing freeform and keep flowing. Then it becomes stream of consciousness, and people don't necessarily like to read that. Now, if it's a good stream of consciousness with proper ebbs and flows, proper being a relative term, but ebbs and flows that uh, go through highs and lows of a story that have build up, scene transitions, action sequences let down, and then build back up again, all that good stuff, then good for you that you are a natural writer, probably because you've read a lot, but it still needs to end up somewhere. They go until they stop. And you have to stop a book. You can't just keep it going. Even if you're writing a serial, it's still, you have to have a natural endpoint for a scene or for an arc within a story. And that sells best. For me, with all of my series, I have 23, 24, 25 series, and each one will have an arc within each book, within an overall arc for the series. And they work just fine. People like satisfaction. They like closure of that storyline. So, big fan of you need to know your destination. Also, write that last chapter first so you know where you're going. And then you'll always see it there. And the rest of the book is much easier. A lot of people get lost in the middle because they don't know where they're going to end up. They did that discovering writing, stream of consciousness, and now they're lost. Who wants that? You got a business to run. You need to keep the talent engaged and keep the talent producing. And the talent, well, that's you. So write till you get to the end. Now, learn pacing. This is the best thing that keeps readers on board, because characters that are relatable, doing something that matters, and pacing. So how much of a scene setup is critical, and how much before it goes on too long? What about a scene transition? What about action? How much action do you need? Is it all action all the time? Well, you see that on TV, and those are kind of hard to watch because all action all the time. Hard to watch for me. Ex-gamers who love the adrenaline rush, maybe they like those. So for that genre and for that readership, you need action all the time, almost frenetic. But what about your books? And what defines action? Action is anything that gets your heart going. So it could be an engagement, a confrontation between lovers, things that get the heart going, but then come back down. It doesn't have to be shoot ups or car crashes or anything that's extreme, but it takes the reader up on a high and then drops them back down on the bottom, on the backside for the next scene transition. So look at it as a string of pearls, but they're all different sizes. And so you've got the pearl. Here's a little one. There's a big one. There's a little one. There's just so it oscillates, but not on a regular pattern like a sine wave, where you have an exact same high, exact followed by the exact same low, high, low. Boring. We don't want to bore our readers. That's the worst thing you can do. So think of it as a string of pearls. The musicality of each paragraph as you're flowing from one scene to the next, as you're within that action sequence, as you're within an engagement, the character buildup, the backstories, all of that goes into it. But there's a certain amount of natural storyteller that you have that makes that stuff easy, because this is important. Hey, I think this is important for this character, but then working it into the right flow instead of giving a big info dump. Info dumps aren't cool, where you just go in and just give the back history. It's like reading an encyclopedia. Nobody wants to do that. Well, very few people. And you want more people, more readers, no info dumps. You meter it out just a little bit at a time, like you're feeding squirrels. You give them all the corn to begin with, they eat all the corn, and then they want more. Don't do that. Don't feed the squirrels all of your corn at one time. There you go. Philosophy of writing. And you have to write. You can't write a book if you don't write. I've always had this idea to write a book. Then write it. That's how it is. Writing takes writing. And the more you write, the better you get at it. Peace, fellow humans.